C'est hello everyone. Well, listen, many of you have been asking me how to make this kind of video. So,
in this particular instance, video transitions between many different people, whether for the music or for other kinds of things. Okay, listen, I'll give you a very quick tutorial.
because apparently quite a number of you have asked me about this, especially in private messages. So it's quite simple. You need to start with ChatGPT, obviously, and an image. So here, for example, you have a script that very simply summarizes how I can get my very first image. I'm using Google Gemini. You'll need a professional account, though, be warned. Otherwise, the free version offers very few generations, which unfortunately won't allow you to do many things. Our pro account, you can even get one for free sometimes, it's quite simple. Look at the subscriptions they have, and you'll eventually see that you can have €0 for a month, and then you can be a pro. And as a pro, you'll have access to the pro model that's down here. And the pro model ultimately allows you to achieve good precision for image generation, especially this one. For example, here you have the photo of Britney Spears with this script, which is normally more or less here. So that explains everything. I asked it to create a photo of Britney Spears in one of her music videos. So I'll be putting the scripts for you down below as well, if I might be allowed to do so. And that, you see, explains the whole scene. That explains why I'm a bit off. That explains why I'm always dressed the same way. That explains the context of the scene. But all of that, in the end, you'll ask ChatGPT. You kind of make a melting pot of your requests throughout the year. That's important. The clip itself, the clothing style. And sometimes you need to take a second reference photo. Basically, when you create this script, it's not always enough. First, make the script on ChatGPT 5.2 100 times better. Then you'll need to go to Google Gemini. And on Google Gemini, however, when you're going to do that, we'll take the script. We're going to copy it completely here. I copy. When you're working in Google Gemini and you paste something, or actually even before you paste it in, you have the option to take into account the reference photos. So I'm going to grab my personal photo, which should normally be found right here. And there it is right now. At that point, it will load it. So be careful. You need to be on a VPN for Europeans or anyone outside of America. Otherwise, it won't take the face into account because European laws aren't yet aligned with American ones, where it's permitted to use people's images, at least on Google. You just paste the script. And in the end, it was already explained to him in the script that it was Britney Spears from a certain year. So you can try it, he'll do something, but he won't necessarily create the image you want because he'll use Britney Spears at a specific point in her career. The main thing ultimately is to potentially add a file and then assign it a reference image. And specifically in this instance, it would be an image. I don't recall exactly which one. I won't necessarily find it, but we'll add a second reference image. For example, we tell it, there, it would be the Britney Spears scene when she dances in that clip. And then in the end, you just throw the object and eventually you'll get a result that will match the exact photo above. Even if you have to start over or by explaining, be careful, I'm on the left, be careful, I'm still dressed the same way. That's very important, of course, for the continuity of the scene. I'll do next. Once you've got the picture, well, it's quite simple. You see, you'll need two of them. You'll need the first photo and the second photo. After that, it will all play out in the video. On the video, it's simple. I have a video script, many video scripts are here, and it's the same with video scripts. You simply explain the transition. You explain that the camera follows you constantly, that you always wear the same clothes. You explain the transition action. I dance, I arrive, I fall, and then I land on the other person and I dance. So you clearly explain how the first person is, the transition of what you're going to do, the action, let's say, and then how you arrive on the second photo. Now, for English speakers, it's not ideal really, but in translation, you see, it's about keeping the exact same appearance at all times. Same outfit, same face, hairstyle, etc. Now I improvise a scene, I write it, what ends up happening to me? I get to the next scene, I start singing with the person shown in the next image. It's a full performance, the move is clearly indicated, playing the hell out of the bass, throwing the bass behind me, running to the right, then singing. And this script, well, obviously it needs to be put into English. It's better because otherwise we'll use Kalink, who understands English better. Ultimately, for the video, it's quite straightforward. I just go to Kalink. Now, Kalink, that's also a subscription. Well, I'm sorry, you'll have to spend a few credits. In English, well, you can get away with it. If you're using a VPN in America, excuse me, you can get away with interesting packages for 25 euros, I think, with bonus discounts if you create several Google accounts, several connections ultimately. And on Kalink, ultimately, it's quite simple, huh? You have a base image and an image of the second image. Ultimately, that's all it is. So you have the base image. Here I've put Britney Spears. I'm uploading Britney Spears. Just simply here, I'm doing that. I went and grabbed an image of Britney Spears. I've uploaded the second image right here, and then I pasted the script from Kalink, who ultimately explains the transition to me. From that point, I definitely recommend. Obviously, you must be in 200 turbo. If you're into 6, you won't be able to add a 30 frame a second ending image. So you explain what's happening here, and I maintain the same appearance and so on. So I explain what's going on with me in between, and then you generate it. So it's 50 euros for 5 seconds, the generation of 2 videos. Well, that's just the price. Then I'll show you'll get 2 generated videos, and you'll need to pick the best one. The sound, we don't care. I ditched the sound because it's completely messed up, especially with the turbo setting for sound. There you go. It creates transitions, and sometimes I don't agree with them. We have to restart video generation, and it's not always easy because it still costs credits. So we usually have to make at least 5 or 6. The better it's written, the faster it will go. Asia, and then it's simple. Once you have your transition between those 2 photos, Kalina generates the video for you. And with that, you simply have to paste them onto onto Premiere Pro. And there in Premiere Pro, you'll simply be able to paste the scenes one after another.
And quite naturally, they will follow. Because each time, the goal is just to switch the image.
For example, if I scroll down a little bit further, you'll see that afterwards I perform a buster eye. And quite simply, what I do here is, if I make an edit, I've done a reverse. In fact, I just did it like this. Your hybridness blur, you reverse the first image, the second image then becomes the first image, and then you go look for your next image, quite simply, to know what you're going to do in your sequence, quite simply.
It's the same, ultimately, for any kind of transitional video. I don't know if that's what you'd call it.
You'll see that with this, you can definitely have a good laugh. It can be about anything. It can be about cooking. It can be about absolutely anything and everything. Of course, this is Britney Spears, but you can also to go and take a look at some of the other creative works you've produced. Now, for instance, I myself had actually created some for my YouTube Shorts and Google Studio. I had also done that particular one, which was, I found quite nice, meaning I transitioned from one scene to another in action movies. It's precisely the same thing. It's based on the very same principle. It was a short video. It was this particular one. It's exactly the very same principle. It's just you. Quite simply, you either explain the first image or you display the second image.
Then, you explain to Kalag what happens between them, and then we can do a few generations.
But then, of course, you have the music. You can create it on Even Lab, on Suno, however you like. But obviously, you need to prioritize that it's generated by AI, by artificial intelligence. Otherwise, you risk being blocked. And if that's not the case, for example, with the most recent video, I truly had no other option but to attribute the music to the artist. This isn't quite enough for the moment. They were understanding, they realized this wasn't meant to be commercial and that it was purely a comedy, a parody. But sometimes they can really give you trouble, especially YouTube, which is extremely particular and strict about these kinds of things. That's the basic principle. I'm going to try to get a short English translation done via 11 Labs, if that's at all possible. I encourage you to try it. So you could certainly do this with all sorts of concepts like Top Chef, Master Chef, or whatever you prefer, all those reality TV shows. It can be about any topic. And obviously, a little bit of messing around between them sometimes is quite fun. You saw that in the end, I'm having a blast. You shouldn't take yourself too seriously. It's not always perfect. If you're looking for perfection, it's impossible. You won't get it. There will always be small problems. The main thing is that it creates content that's somewhat coherent. And most importantly, your character, that they don't change their expression too much. Even though if you take a good look at my actual face, well, it's not really like that. The photo wasn't great either, but there's a consistency in the scenes. So thank you for watching this, and then please try to bear with me. I'm not giving up, especially on Sora 2. I have quite a few projects ongoing. Have a good day.